Hit it! And welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort. All right, here we go. What you think about, you will bring about. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm so thrilled you're with us. We're going to have a really interesting conversation today about virtual reality, our new reality that is helping so many people, especially those with dementia, bring joy and comfort to them. But before I introduce our guest today, I just want to give a shout out to our band who played the opening song called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band featuring Maya Dore, and you can download that on any of your favorite music platforms. For those of you that are new to our show, we're about sound news, not just sound bites, and our goal is to raise everyone's voice, large and small, all around the world. Today we're having a live show, so that gives you, our listeners, the opportunity to call in and ask questions and make comments. That number is 323-870-4602, 323-870-4602. Let's see. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people out there and also recognize that today is the International Day of People with Disabilities. So keep that in mind as you are proceeding today. Maybe do something a little extra special for somebody in need. And let's see, I want to give a shout out to DAA, that's Dementia Action Alliance. They are still doing some free Zoom sessions for people living with dementia at home and also for people living with dementia in assisted living. They have two separate programs, lots of fun, and you get to meet people all around the world. Again, their URL is daanow.org, daanow.org. And we've got a couple of memory cafes coming up that I participate in facilitating. One is Artist Way, and that is in Woodbury, Minnesota. But, nowadays we're doing them virtual, so anybody can come. That is December 16th at 1 o'clock Central Time. And Arthur's Memory Cafe, we do the second and the fourth Wednesday of each month at 1 o'clock. Just reach out to me for further information. Of course, I'd be amiss if I didn't give a plug for Dementia Map. We just launched it. It's a global resource directory for everything dementia. So go to dementiamap.com to learn a little bit more about that. And again, if you have a resource you want to share, we would love to have you. We have free plans as well as paid ones that give you more brand exposure. So, talk to me on that. I'm doing some demo tours on that as well. Choral Health is giving away both Music First and Choral Faith apps for free. Just go to choralhealth.com. That's CORO health.com. And for other memory cafes, go to the Memory Cafe directory. Dave Wiedrich has done a nice job pulling those together. And last, we're going to hear from the Foot Bar Walker, and then we are going to meet with our guest.
Introducing
We'll be right back.
the life-changing Foot Bar Walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The Foot Bar Walker revolutionized my care of George. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000. The foot bar walker opens and closes just like a standard walker. The only thing that is different is the top bar and the foot bar. Does that ever make a difference?
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The foot bar walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the foot bar walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the foot bar walker.
Well, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and introduce you to Chris Brickler, who is the CEO and co-founder of MyndVR, and that is spelled MyndVR, which is a national health and wellness company providing virtual reality solutions to dramatically grow senior healthcare providers who work directly with seniors in aging in place, and just, really make life a little bit better for everybody there. I'm so excited to talk about this program. MyndVR has curated this huge library of virtual reality content and creates original programs as well for both recreational and therapeutic effects. And they work with leading universities and researchers, and they're studying the potential health benefits of virtual reality for the dynamic aging process. So welcome, Chris. I am so thrilled to have you with us today.
Well, thank you, Lori, for having us on the show. Very exciting times in terms of where technology is moving, and just hope that we can provide a little bit of help in the whole problem world that we live in with the spread of different dementias.
Yeah, well, and then you throw COVID on top of it, and boy, this is something that is really, it's so timely. It's kind of like with telemedicine. It kind of got poo-hooed and on the back burner, and now it's up front and center, and such a critical piece to living life well and getting people where they need to go. Before I get into my line of questioning, I always like to ask all of my guests, just so my listeners know, if you've been personally touched by dementia.
Well, I certainly have, yeah. I've had grandparents in the family that have struggled with this, and I wasn't necessarily a day-to-day caregiver, but very close to my family members, and so got a sense of what that means for their lives and for the people around them, for sure. So, yeah, it's near and dear to my heart, and I think there's some other things around what inspired me to create this business around not just family members, but what I saw the technology could possibly do for our elders, and just really paying respect to the elders in the most sort of gratuitous way we possibly could. I feel that this virtual reality movement is so interesting and expansive, and we've reimagined everything away from a youth-based gaming culture, which is largely what virtual reality has been associated with, to a world where it really makes a meaningful difference in improving the quality of lives of our elders. And I think that, to me, is probably the most personal, motivating, driving factor for me.
Wonderful. I want to ask you, why and how you stepped into this space. Is this something that you were always interested in? But I always find it interesting to kind of hear the backstory of why somebody developed something and what their original view was, and has that changed for you?
Well, yeah, good question. In 2010, I was in Silicon Valley working on very sort of sophisticated next generation video products and streaming and platforms, and also a good friend of mine was working at Oculus, one of the leading companies in the VR space, and just so happens another great friend of mine from years ago was running 100 senior living homes in Texas, And we got together and talked about some of these things we were doing in VR and what Sean was doing, my co-founder in long-term care. And some of the things I was gravitating towards in VR was around music and bringing music performance into this very intimate space with these goggles on, to where you could have a very deep connection with an artist that you might like, or some music, or a classical orchestra, or whatever that, or jazz group, or whatever. And so that's kind of what I was working on. And then Sean brought in, he said, well, we're working on this project called Music and Memory, which is really a wonderful program that's been rolled out with using iPods to help people in those disease states to kind of hit neurons in the brain, right, that can connect neurons that sometimes are dormant until they hear music. So music has this very strange and interesting science and effect on the human brain as it gets older and as we go into some of these cognitive impairment issues. So that got me really excited. Okay, so how could we start merging not just listening to music on an iPod, but putting goggles on somebody and teleporting them back to a time frame visually along with the music that they love and the melodies that they recognized. And we did some initial tests in 2017 on this, and it just like we were like, whoa, okay, we're onto something here. We have to, I quit my job in Silicon Valley. My partner, we got together. We really created something meaningful here in this MyndVR, based on what we saw from a reaction point of view with people that were in certainly different stages of dementia, certainly different stages of Alzheimer's, and it was just a beautiful thing to see the power of this new medium, virtual reality, providing a wonderful effect to that person's day, not just for the 15 minutes that they might be in that experience, but for hours afterwards. Seeing that molecular mood structure change was so powerful for us when we first got this thing off the ground.
Oh, neat. And Music and Memories is just a wonderful, wonderful tool for people. I think some of the most accessible and non-costly things that we incorporate into our day, we just don't realize how valuable they are to us and the importance they can make and how they can be tweaked and enhanced through all these other offerings. So kudos to you guys for doing that. When it comes to dementia as a whole, how do you differentiate your company from others who are working in this space?
Well, the first thing I like to say is that MyndVR is not ever making any medical claims about this as a cure for dementia. That's too far out in the future. What we have done is taken a very critical eye to some of the side effects that are created in these disease states, right? So when we think about things like depression and anxiety, we think about lack of socialization that come with this. That's where we want to plug in MyndVR, is into some of these unfortunate side effects that come along with this, and provide some comfort, provide some reminiscence therapy. So when we can take someone to a place that they might have forgot they went to 50 years ago, or we take them on a museum tour of the Apollo 11 NASA-based exhibit, the celebration of the 50th year of going to the moon. Well, a lot of 85-year-old people that might be suffering from a cognitive impairment disease, they might have completely forgotten about the whole moon experience 50 years ago. So we're bringing that back to them in a very immersive way, to where they can now experience that, at least from a curated, museum sort of point of view. We walk through the museum, we go through the whole storyline of how it all happened and the ultimate success of getting to the moon. Well, that may not be that exciting to someone my age or younger than me, but for older adults, that's the type of content that we're producing that we really think will make a difference and move the needle on some of the reminiscence aspects. But, at the end of the day, we really do feel through all the observational tests and studies that we've done with commercial partners and universities that stimulate memory. It does have the ability to really bring up old and short-term memories and improve cognition. And that's what's so exciting about it. It's very embryonic, but it's very exciting future and frontier for this technology.
Yeah, I like that you had mentioned that you're not making any medical claims, because at this point, and yet you're engaged with research, on this whole basis and stuff. But I think one of the things that is so overlooked, and for me, my mom had dementia for 30 years, and so I learned a lot of hard lessons during that time, but came through it the other side fairly progressive, I guess, in how I look at life and dementia as a whole, that there is joy and engagement and a lot of good life to be lived, but was the importance of what makes somebody happy and content. And to me, I don't need any, medical statistics to back that up. I can look as one human to another and be able to judge that. And I think that's what music and memory does. I think that's what virtual reality can bring. And when we can bring that calmness and comfort to a person with dementia, it also, reels over to us as individuals, as care partners, if we're professional care partners or if we're family.
That's right.
We have such a huge impact. And, one of the videos out there, that shows the man with his head down and he comes alive when the music from the Alive Inside film is amazing. And again, you don't need to read any statistics. You can just visually see that things have changed and that they're better. And to me, that's the biggest compliment any service or product can have, is just that calm and joy.
Lori, that film was actually probably a little bit of a tipping point for me in terms of using the media that I was working on with virtual reality and the idea of helping seniors and helping older adults with cognitive issues. That movie put me over the top, to be honest with you. It was such a beautifully done film, and to see how just music alone could help that. What I wanted to do was do something on an order of magnitude, take music and teleport somebody in. So my very first project that we launched and did a test on is in Dallas, Texas. We actually took out a nightclub, an old kind of jazz nightclub. We brought in 35 actors, all dressed in 1950s. We brought a Frank Sinatra crooner in, great performer, a live band, and filmed this all from the perspective in virtual reality on the front row of the of the performance, with the martini glass, surrounded by people, all looking at the camera and smiling. So when you put on the goggles, we translate the production into a full 360 production. So you can look around the entire room and see everybody dancing and everybody having fun, and you are completely teleported to, straight up late 50s, early 60s kind of review, with great music. And when we did our first test, and I saw people with Alzheimer's wanting to get out of their chair and start dancing and just looking around and being smile from ear to ear, that was probably the turning point for me, where, okay, we really have something powerful here. And yes, the science will catch up to what we're observing, but there's nothing that can take away our observations. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where, it's been a slow move. I've been in this space now about 11 years. And nobody in the beginning, no one wanted to have the conversation. It was very closed, very limited in terms of what resources were out there. And really in the last 5 years is where we've seen some big change. But when you look at the needle, it's minute yet. One of the things that I think really needs to change is, we need to change perspective of what we're funding and what we value. And right now we value statistics, and we have to start valuing smiles and comfort. and
That's
putting
right. Yep.
and putting some funding towards that. I mean, if we can eliminate maybe someone having to be on medications, that just about any medication out there has potential for side effects. Music and virtual reality, not so much. If you know the person, you can customize what their needs are. If you know a certain song is going to maybe trigger them to some sadness, or a certain a certain picture or film, time in space is going to trigger something, you can not play that for that particular person, not have them engage in that. And
right.
The comfort, I mean, when you take a pill, and there's nothing wrong with medications, they serve a purpose, but I think in some cases they've overserved, and we have relied on that to make somebody not calm and joyful, but make somebody non-responsive in some cases, instead of dealing with what is the frustration that this person is feeling, and how do we move them out of a space that doesn't feel safe or comfortable for them into one that does. And that is something I think you can do beautifully. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to echo your point. That's exactly right. Everything we do, our company culture is built around love, care, and compassion. So we've built the largest library curated for seniors in the world, and we've done this with a love, care, compassion sort of approach. And what I mean by that is we look at different types of content, and we also look at the lives of our elders and where they are losing connections with energy on this planet that just comes with aging, and it comes with disease. But when we think about reconnecting people with nature, we have the ability to tear down the four walls of a senior living home, or if someone's aging in place, we have the ability to tear those four walls down and let them on a safari in Africa, let them swim with dolphins, let them be with a litter of puppies. We have the ability to take them on trips that they might have forgotten about. I had a beautiful experience with a couple in New Jersey before COVID when I was traveling up on the East Coast, and this couple had been to Paris 5 times in their life. Well, she was later stage Alzheimer's. He was healthy from a cognitive perspective. And I asked him, I said, well, where's the place you guys travel? Well, we went to Paris several times. It was our favorite place. Okay. And where they did their honeymoon. So I asked her in a very gentle way, would you like to put these goggles on and visit Paris? And she understood what I was saying. She didn't remember what she had for breakfast that morning. She didn't remember his name. She certainly didn't know my name. But she trusted me enough to where she put the goggles on, and she went to Paris, and within 1 minute she was like, honey, we were at Notre Dame. We there's the tower. She recognized everything and remembered the family times of her doing that trip, 40 years ago. And that was such a special, just sort of experience that I personally had with this couple. Everybody in the room was in tears, because after we took the goggles off, she was fully present with him, and they talked about their Paris adventures and things like that. And if a technology can do that, and we can witness it do that, we see a very big future. So the travel piece is a big one as well. The nature connection and music is very big for us, and we're just open to all types of content that can provide some sort of entertainment / therapeutic benefit to their daily lives and improve their moods. And I think that gives the caregivers a nice uplift as well, because it's hard being a caregiver. Let's be honest.
Mhm. Yeah, that's for sure. It's it's just incredible that you have come from this mission of the love, the care, and the compassionate, because I think that's the core of care, and yet so many services don't focus on really what's important to the end user to that extent. They're focused more on the bottom line, and what's going to be the most economical and how do we sell the most product. And yet, I believe that you will sell more product and be a healthier company all around and develop kind of this greater good sense when you focus on this love, care, and compassion. Because that tells me also that you're a company that listens to feedback, you're watching for reactions, and you're out there to truly improve somebody's life, not just meet not just to meet a budget and a financial goal. And not that those aren't important. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's got to have a bottom line and stuff. But I think when you put those things first, your outcomes are so much better, and they're received faster, and I think they spread faster too, because people can feel that authenticness in terms of what they're seeing and feeling. And from a company standpoint, what to express in terms of what people can expect from the product as well, instead of this is something to keep them busy, because some that's more their bottom line with something is, let's just keep them busy. Let's get this off our checklist. So we said we did something, but there's so many more benefits of just keeping them busy in terms of your product.
Well, I agree with a lot of that, and one thing that resonates with me is really listening to those elders when they communicate about their lives and their past. It's our duty as younger people to absorb that and to translate that into meaningful media, and that's our whole mission. So, I had a discussion with a man, I don't know, 3 years ago, about Route 66, the iconic 2,000-mile journey. Well, if the next summer we put a crew on the road and started on Wacker Drive in Chicago and went 2,000 miles to the Santa Monica Pier and filmed everything you can imagine on that road that was iconic and put that into a 10-part series. And I tell you what, this has been such a big hit with seniors all over that might have done that route and might have forgotten about it, actually, or didn't forget about it, but it's just a lovely memory to bring back. Secondly, people that always wanted to do it and just never had a chance to do it. Well, guess what? And they're not going to ever have a chance to do it given their mobility status at the moment. So now we can bring that type of content to them that's immersive. They put the goggles on. There's no light that interferes from the room that they're in. The sound is condensed. It's that they are in a new reality, a new virtual world, and it's such an interesting tool to bring these people back. But the point is I agree with you, is that we really do have to listen to what our spirits are saying about the past and bring that to life in modern technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very important. Now, when you're, with your product, are you focused more on the commercial end with maybe assisted living and memory care and things like that, or are you serving the everyday family as well?
Yeah, great question. So, we started off the business 2017 with doing the largest test that's ever been done across the country, 5 different states, hundreds and hundreds of seniors, to find out what types of content, and all these seniors were in, some sort of a CCRC environment, assisted living or memory care or independent living. So we really wanted to figure out, what types of content work well with these folks, what the ergonomics of the headsets were. We learned quickly that doing VR, and Edna was probably not excited about doing VR on hair day. So we had to kind of figure out how to work in the VR program into different community activities and how to work that around all the different variables. But very, very fun and great exercise in 2017, and then 18 and 19 really kind of more fully built out the product and the platform for senior communities. And then this year has been a really, really interesting year for everybody, obviously with COVID and 2020 just being one of the most bizarre records on year. We've actually grown our customer base 300% this year. A lot of that's due to some of the isolation issues that we've been helping combat. But we also have launched our MyndVR at Home edition of the product. So now it's not just available in communities. Families can order this for their loved ones that might be in isolated homes or in being cared for sort of in home environments. So we're very excited about that, and just completed a massive national sort of pilot this summer, and made some changes to the product, and now it's rolling out over the holiday season here.
Oh, very neat. That's exciting. Are you comfortable talking about cost in terms of what either a community or a family would be looking at with something like that? And I know that it may, differ depending on situations, but just so people kind of have a little bit of idea.
Yeah. So, one of our tenets of the company is we're trying to make this as affordable as possible, right? So, as we've reimagined this away from all the gaming and high-cost applications of CGI and games and all that stuff, we've tried to move this over to a very affordable entry level for families to bring this into their home. So, $750-ish will bring the headset customized to that person with loads of preloaded content, and then a subscription to all the new content that we bring on the network for the next year to 2 years, however long their contract period is. It's kind of like a mobile phone subscription, in other words, on that front. And then we also have we've had a lot of families call us and have loved ones that might have, unfortunately 3 or 6 months to live because they have a terminal illness, but they want to bring this technology into the home. So we've developed even of a less affordable, more affordable solution for a shorter term rental, where they can bring the device into the home with all of our content and then send it back to us. So we're just trying to be flexible and really, whatever needs people have, we're open to hearing those and trying to work with families directly. And then on our community side, we're scaling that really fast right now. We just launched a customer in 4 weeks, 33 communities. It covers over a couple thousand residents spread across all those communities. And, it's just bringing now joy and all the benefits to MyndVR to those communities. So we're busy in 2020. Let's put it that way, for sure. But it's a good time to have this technology, and I'll just say that because my hearts really go out to our frontline workers that are taking care of people in this extreme level of isolation that we've never seen before, and that includes even younger adults, older adults. So even the active agers. I mean, they're not traveling. They can't go on cruises. They can't see the world like they had planned to do. Well, guess what? They can with MyndVR, and that's been a really interesting opportunity to work with some of the younger active agers as well. So.
Well, that's wonderful. That was one thing I was going to bring up, that this isn't just for a person with dementia or the elderly. I mean, this could be also a great educational tool for younger kids when you're looking at some of what the past was like, and what did Grandma and Grandpa used to do for entertainment, and what that looked like versus what our world today looks like. Or when you're able to go and visit different travel locations and venues and things too. How cool is that? I mean, those escapes I think we all enjoy. And so this could be a great benefit not only to the person with dementia, but those that are caring for them, in terms of just getting them to a calm space and bringing them to a different kind of time and space to just breathe and relax as well, because they need it too. And so I think sometimes we think in linear modes, and it's like, well, it's for this, but I think we have to broaden that. And realize that most everything we do for somebody with dementia is really good for the world as a whole. I haven't come across one thing that we do for dementia really that's not good for everyone, because it's about respectfulness, it's about personhood. It's, the whole goal is kind of that relationship based and finding that calm and that peace within. And I think that in this fast-paced kind of psychotic world that we live in these days, where there's so much drama, we're all drawn to that a little bit more and saying, man, I don't want to just turn off my TV because I don't want to hear what's going on, but I want to escape and go someplace else where I find that calmness.
That's a great point. Escapism. This particular medium really allows for escapism to happen. It's not like watching a sunset video on a two-dimensional television screen with the whole room that you exist in. This is putting a headset on and you're teleported to another world. And meditation, whether it be guided meditation or nature immersion, is a huge genre. We probably have collected the largest library in the world and produced a lot of content ourselves. We just shot over the Niagara Falls 2 weeks ago. To bring that type of relaxing content with classical music and other types of very calming music. Again, some of it might be voice directed, but bringing that calmness to someone that is in a cognitive state of impairment. We've seen this work with a lot of different forms of dementia, and just like just a simple situation like sundowning, right? When we know Uncle George might get agitated around a certain time of the day. Well, what if we put MyndVR in an hour and a half before that time of the day, and change kind of his viewpoint of and his overall heart rate variability to some of the vitals that we're checking, and really see how Uncle George might calm down prior to a scheduled agitation event. That's when the science gets really exciting, and that's why we've got so many different studies going on with different universities and whatnot. Very broad studies, and just couldn't be more thrilled with that. The other thing I wanted to comment on real quick though is the caregivers. We're entering a new phase here where there are so many new diagnoses of this epidemic of dementia, which I include Alzheimer's in that, right? Just it's in this world of aging and cognitive impairment, and a lot of our young caregivers don't know anything about how to care for this type of a situation, and it's very stressful for them outside of their own stress and their own jobs and their own lives and kids and everything else. So what we've done is tried to create a really strong multi-platform use case for MyndVR. So when a family orders MyndVR and brings that to the home, yes, it is to help with our elders. But there are some applications that do two different things. One application is helping relieve some of the anxiety and stress and bring calmness to the caregiver, so they can go in and just escape for 30 minutes and come out with a whole different mindset. The second part of that is we partnered with a wonderful group called Candide out of Palo Alto to create really the first ever and most advanced training platform for people that are caring for folks with Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's a suspended first-person sort of production. We did this in Hollywood, and we filmed it with actors, but we were really concise in terms of how a person would act and what they would do on a normal course of a day, which they might pull out a knife out of a drawer, and then the video stops and says, how do we deal with this? And the caregiver in the video ultimately has to deal with this, but you as the viewer, it's almost gamified in a way that you can now help that caregiver make the right decision on how to handle substituting that knife with a spoon and getting back to normalcy, right? There's just so many ways that virtual reality can help across the spectrum of not just calming the spirit, but also such an advanced form of training and knowledge transfer about how to handle the disease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very interesting. One of the things you had mentioned about gathering, data was, kind of this change of mood and stuff. And again, I think that's one thing we don't do a good job with is getting people to understand when there's a reaction they don't like, don't call it a behavior because it truly is a reaction, and that reaction is telling us something's out of whack and they can't communicate to us what exactly that is. But to start really documenting to find out, are there patterns? And I really think we do a disservice to families by not really kind of harping on that issue. Because once you see there's a pattern developed, like you said, plugging in something like MyndVR to alleviate that is huge. And again, then it gets people to look at it in a different light that I think so often people think, well, this is just dementia. There's nothing I can do because there's not a lot of hope given in terms of reality and really what's available out there. That's one of the things that, and again, I'm going to give a plug for Dementia Map that I love about that is, it's a resource directory that is just beginning to pull together some of these fascinating tools that are out there and services that, so many people don't know about. And to me, that is critical. As a daughter who cared for her mother, I wanted that so badly, to be able to be connected and to have choice. And it was something that I just, it wasn't there. It wasn't talked about. So having more alternatives, having dementia-friendly communities, and seeing all of the creative ways that people are taking a skill set or something of interest to them and improving life is, to me, just fascinating and really powerful. When you get those creative juices and it's not just a job, it really matters and it gives you purpose. I think, those businesses, those individuals are really the heroes in the industry because they show the vulnerability. They show that they don't necessarily have all the answers, but they want to keep improving, what is delivered. And that's what I'm hearing from you is that, we started here, but we're doing some growth over here and we're making some changes here. And, you're trying to make it affordable and you learn basically at every sale point, every conversation, every engagement piece, because you're listening. You're listening to what is happening, and you've got some fabulous stories. Do you have you had mentioned, the one story. Do you have another story that you'd like to share that was just kind of profound that either you actually experienced or maybe you just heard through feedback from somebody?
I could probably consume another 2 hours on that one. It's really been a profound experience for me personally, and I think every day all of our team members are, we just wake up more motivated because of these stories that come about. I was in Florida again right before COVID hit earlier in the year, and we were doing a session with a gentleman who actually was a United States senator, and he had Alzheimer's, late stage, probably 90, I don't know, in his 90s somewhere. Wonderful, wonderful guy. He came in to try this, and we put him into a beach scene that was very relaxing on the eastern seaboard of Costa Rica. And it's almost like your feet are in the water, but the waves are just kind of very softly rolling in, and you can look all around and be a part of nature. And it's a 10-minute experience. And he started talking during the whole experience about his kids, his wife, his family, and their vacations that they would take to these types of beaches. And then after he took off the goggles, he talked to his caregivers for hours about it. and they called me back and said, we've never seen him talk in 3 years he's been here. Never seen him talk like this, or communicate, socialization, right? So when I get back to some of the things that we've studied and observed, it's this interesting improvement in socialization and discernment and being able to express opinions. That doesn't always come easy for these folks when they get into this place. So if there's any way we can help just motivate some of those basic human characteristics that they've kind of lost along the way, then boy, we really feel good about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is wonderful. Or we are getting close to our hour coming up here, and I want to make sure that we cover everything. Was there anything that we didn't cover? I know we definitely need to get your contact information out, but was there anything more that you wanted to talk about, maybe on quality of life and also, your research and strategies for the future?
Our strategy is pretty simple. We are in the business of improving the lives of our older adults and our elders, and being respectful about that through that love, care, compassion model. We do that both through providing the service directly to senior living communities, and then we also now provide that service directly to people and families who are taking care of folks aging in place. In terms of research, we've had some really fascinating studies come out. I could talk again for another 2 hours about all of this, but one of the studies that we did with a big group out of California called Silverado, which I thought was a pretty important study, where we went to different senior communities, and these communities are all memory care communities. So everyone in the community is in some sort of level of diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Across Houston, Salt Lake City, and Milwaukee, we did a fairly large observational trial, and 82% of the participants were positive to neutral to using VR. And that in and of itself was very striking to me. I didn't think it would be that high. After being in it for a year and a half, I didn't think we'd see those high of numbers. But once people got it and they were accepting and they actually put the goggles on and got the value of that immersive experience, they wanted to do it again next week and the week after and the week after. So we saw a very big uptake of percentage of people that liked it and wanted to keep using it. The second big statistic that came out of that I like to talk about, and by the way, Silverado has published all this through Senior Housing News and a couple other different publications, but was that they observed, and this is their clinicians through this big national study, they observed a 25% change in positive behavior. So, that's a really important item I like to talk about when I talk to operators of memory care communities and things like that. But not only that, but with families, because this is the hardest thing to deal with, right? Is behavior that is difficult to modify or to deal with just as another human being, right? So when we can try to use technology like this, that's way more immersive than the television or the newspaper or playing bingo or anything like that. Try to insert something like this into the daily narrative, then that's when it gets really exciting to me. If we could help change positive behavior, creates less stress on caregivers. It creates more connection with caregivers and our elders, our loved ones, and ultimately, a more mindful, peaceful experience for the people that we're caring about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's and Silverado does just such a magnificent job in the way that they care and the way that they focus. I mean, everything from the dishes to the chairs, along with all the activities and the training is so well thought out there. And they do a really nice job of explaining that to families. So you add you add on this virtual reality piece, and I can tell you from a daughter's perspective, to be able to hear or see that my loved one is engaged and happy just soothes the heart. And that can be shown via a picture or a video shared with family as they're utilizing that as well. And that will bring so much calm to a family that may be locked out and can't see them right now.
That's right.
It's very, very important that this is communicated to families and to staff. I don't know. To me, it's just critical. It's critical for health and well-being for those family members as much as it is for the person with dementia and the staff caring for them if they are in a community. Really big stuff you're doing. So kudos to that. For our listeners, you can get a hold of MyndVR. Again, that's Mind, MYNDVR.com. And you can email Chris at Chris, that's with a C, CHRIS, at MyndVR.com. And they also have a Facebook page. So if you just plug in MyndVR, you will find them. And Chris, I would imagine you're on LinkedIn as well and things.
I sure am. Yep.
Keep up the great work. I am thoroughly impressed with what you're doing. And again, I love your mission and your vision because it's a very authentic and purposeful mode that you're driven by. And again, I think that in and of itself is very unique in a business platform these days. A lot of times people talk it, but they don't walk it, and it's evident that your company walks their talk. So, thanks for bringing this to our attention here at the Alzheimer's Speaks community. I think it'll be very helpful for so many people. And again, you can go to their website. That's Mind, MYNDVR.com. Thank you again, Chris. I appreciate your time today.
Boy, really a pleasure of mine. Thank you for such a great cause and what you're pushing as well and trying to communicate. So thank you.
Wonderful. For our listeners, I just want to say if you're looking for resources, you can always go to our main website, alzheimerspeaks.com. And don't forget our newly rolled out global resource directory that we're just building called Dementia Map. That's just dementiamap.com. If you have services, we would love to have you add them. There is a free plan as well as paid plans. So there's, money is not an object there. We want to hook people up with resources. So families and businesses both have a great wide variety of choice, and they feel supported. So have a wonderful holiday season, guys. We'll see you next week. And if you have, if you're thinking maybe you've got something that should be on this show, reach out to me at Lori, Lori, at alzheimerspeaks.com. I'd love to talk to you about it. Bye now.
Hey everybody, Jared Sebesti here, host of Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. Few people can just flip the switch from working a career 30 or 40 plus years, retiring on Friday without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.